Great. Welcome everyone to our monthly My Speaker Business community call, where, as you know, every month with us, you get practical hints and tips from our guest experts that you can actually apply right away in your speaking and business. Also, you can ask your own personal questions on how you make your own speaking and business flourish further. You can exchange with other professional speakers, and you get a help and support from us and from others on your high priority projects that you can mention as well at the end of our call together. And for some of us it's lunchtime, for some it's morning, for some it's evening, as we have people from all over the world. Just simply come and take a break with us and get inspired. And as you know, these are always very interactive sessions, so please ask your questions anytime, either in the chat or sometimes also our guest will invite you to ask some questions. And also just mute yourself when you're not speaking so that we have a sparkling recording. And you're a speaker, I know you love stages, also virtual stages, so you'll video record this, as you know, so when you speak you'll be in the picture. But I know being a speaker you love that. Well, as you know, every time we have an amazing topic, and the topic and title, and very promising title today, is the humor game. How you use humor authentically in speaking and in business. And what we know is that one of the smartest ways to prevent boring meetings and sleepy speeches is to incorporate humor and make people laugh, right? It really provides variety, and it creates an amazing atmosphere and connection. Loving together, as you know, builds trust. It's incredible, especially when you take yourself on a ride, when you make jokes about yourself, right? The good news here is that you don't need to be born with funny bones, as our guest is saying. Everyone can learn how to use humor techniques. Well, I think this will be a very fun session, an interactive session, because our guest, she really stands guarantee for practical and easy learning with lots of energy. Her mantra is entertaining, educational, interactive. Well, who is she? Who is our guest today? Her name is Mylgia van Uytrecht, and she's a very lively Dutch woman. She has 100% felt at home on German stand-up stages for more than 5 years. And she's given more than 200 performances. She's thrilled audiences with her spontaneous wordplay and her fine power of observation. She's also a coach for stage presence, and she supports speakers and comedians to make their speeches and performances more effective. She's also authored some books, like the German book, it's saying in German, it's nicht runzeln, lieber schmunzeln, which is translated something like don't frown, rather smile, right? And she regularly gives humor workshops. She's also the president of the Cologne Toastmasters Club and a professional speaker with the German Speakers Association, presenter, voice-over artist. And what I love about her as well, and that brings a lot of energy in here as well, she is a Zumba education specialist. So I think that humor and Zumba go very well together, creating amazing energy. She always really loves to spread energy and joie de vivre, like, knowing how to live. Well, Mylgia, it's amazing to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you very much for this lively and heartwarming welcome. Thank you for the great introduction. And since I noticed that you guys all were surprised me doing this, anybody knows what I'm doing here? It's the applause when you do it, when you're online, you're sitting alone in your room, like, shh. So you do it like this, and everybody sees the energy through the screen. So this is our applause that we use also for language for people who are not able to hear. And I love it because it makes my chest open and it's already spreading a lot of energy. Welcome, Catherine, Silvana, Emma, on Salama, Sia to Salvana, on Salama. Nice to see you. Everybody, very much welcome to be on the camera as well, since we are going to work and talk and experience humor. It's kind of also depending on our face expressions and how people respond. If I would done that and I didn't see you reacting, I didn't have a reason to explain something about it. So I'm also not depending, but we're exchanging our feelings, and especially humor, which is a matter of taste. And in the moment, it makes click when I say something, and many people or people in the room are laughing. When it makes a click, then you have a connection, and that's a very special moment. And in order for me to see that, I have a tip for the people without the cameras on. Maybe it's your room, maybe it's your equipment. There are emojis that you can use, and maybe this one will be appropriate if there is any joke being said. Until now, I did not intend to be funny at all. I'm just being me. And this is also what I think that you can use the best for being authentic. Nevertheless, there are tools that you can start to be more aware of, that when you need it, you can put them in your act. If your act is interacting with people, being on the street, excusing yourself for a small thing to make up, you can start implementing some small things that we're going to do. And I made it a traject, a way that we build up exercises, some small interactions that in the end come together, that you feel more confident to using it. Before I continue, I wish for one volunteer to just make notes for anything that appears funny to you. So we have at the end a report of the collections of things that might have happened, because in the moment that somebody says something, maybe it's not intended to be funny, but reflected from another person, then you see, oh, it was not too bad. So the assignment is clear. Somebody will make notes of the things that happened. If you think, oh, that made a laugh.
You know what, Mylgia, I would rather suggest, hey, we pass it on to everyone, right? I mean, everyone, when you feel like that was funny or that really touched me or that was humorous, why don't you put it into the chat?
Yes.
And then we are creating this kind of library and checklist for all of us. How does that sound? You're all in for that? Can I see a thumb up? Yes?
For me, definitely.
Okay, great.
And it's a special appeal, because when you start to produce something, it's not funny from the beginning. But if you see the initial, that it's potential to be funny, and somebody's mind making a twist, then sometimes the humor is already in there. That's why we need somebody else to point out if it's funny or not, because I can get into that a little bit for the backup, because I was not born like a funny girl or something. When I was born, I just cried, just like anybody else. I was not laughing. It's good to be out here. That's not what I did at first. And then as a young girl, as you can see, I'm a dark-skinned girl, and in my environment, I'm a Dutch person. And as a Dutch person, I was not like the average. And people really approach me like I'm not the brightest one, which made me very insecure. And I did not always get everything, since my parents from the Caribbean are from abroad. So I have another knowledge. And if I ask questions in the class, the children were laughing at me. And that made me sad and insecure. Yes, that was a joke, thanks. Not the brightest one. And but I have the nature to make the best of things and don't get things get to me. And one of the things I really did when I was a child, I read a lot of books. And you know which books? It was jokes. Just a simple Fritzchen Witzchen joke. Yeah. And reading a lot of the jokes helped me to be lighten up, not taking myself so serious, and it helped me to become more witty in wittedness, to develop my wittedness, to have an answer. And then I discovered, instead of them laughing at me, I was empowered to make them laugh. For example, when the teacher asked, "And Mylgia, what's the answer?" I said, "Hey, I was about to ask you." It's a little bit nasty, but I made them laugh, and I showed them, sorry, I don't know, but in another way. And that's came natural to me. I didn't dream of becoming a comedian once in my life, but I've always been a coach. I love to teach and guide people, and doing that, it always I don't know, if I don't make a joke, they feel comfortable and they laugh a lot. And that makes me feel confirmed. And what does that mean to you guys? Just be yourself, and it's okay. You don't have to make any jokes so people know, oh, this is a joke, there is the pointe, and then you're going to laugh. But to use the situation where you're in, and you have the possibility to be more relaxed, melting the ice, breaking the ice, that's going to make you appear more sympathetic. For example, if you're nervous, yeah, you can say, "Oh my God, I'm nervous," and then you mess up or you trip your wine. But you can also play with that and say something about it. It depends on the situation. So for now, I think it's good. You got a little bit of the setup now. And I have this question for you. In what situations you could use a good sense of humor? Just write them in the chat, and since we are not so many people, you can open your mic and say a few ideas of the situations where it could be very helpful to have a sense of humor or the use of it.
To be honest, I'd say there's hardly any situation where you wouldn't use it.
That's
you know, maybe
true.
when you speak at a funeral or something, you know, but even then, you know, I mean, if people, you know, even then weaving something in that's appropriate could help people being there, right? And be involved. So you know, and I love what Katrine is saying, like when you're nervous, right? Or when you have an argument with someone, absolutely, right? I mean, or when you know, like, you know, you have an audience that is super critical, or they have a different perspective. Humor builds bridges as well, right? So that's me. I let someone else share. What do you think?
Catherine? You wrote it in the chat, but maybe we can get some things a little bit more defined. When I'm nervous, yes, but maybe you are nervous in other situations than me. So what would be an example for you to be nervous? If you can share that with us, an example, or you pick a person you know that knows a person. So it's not about you. You're very well welcome to talk about the neighbor's neighbor.
You want me to talk or you want me to write?
No, you can talk now.
Okay. Well, I think there are many different times where we get nervous. Maybe right now, you know, I'll have to express myself. But also when you start a speech, I think the first few minutes of a speech on a stage, you know, you have this tension, and I've heard and I've seen some people starting with maybe not the biggest joke, but some lightness, and that makes everyone at ease. And so I think that will be some time, or when you make a mistake, and then you know, and you because we're more and more online, so we have all those technical issues sometimes when you're presenting, and you know, to just take it easy and take life in an easier way or lighter way.
Amazing. I say amazing because the things you say trigger so much in my head, and there is always something to go on further. I wrote them down so we can go into that further to make it more concrete and find the tools that will help you in a opening situation for your speech, how you can manage to get an icebreaker in there. Yeah, so can people say, oh, this small schmunzel and a little smile inside of you. Silvana, do you have something to share with us, the situation where you think humor would be very helpful?
It's helpful in the cases of breaking tension, breaking ice, of establishing connection in many places, like what Monique said earlier.
Yes, you're totally right. It seems so obvious, but if you're more aware about, if you have a meeting, it can lighten up the atmosphere. If you are on the break between your work, in the break, you need some distraction, so humor can help for that. If you're in a presentation, it can be refreshing not to just point out all the numbers or the facts. You can put the facts and relate them to another thing, so we can put the connection, but have a, oh, I feel so smart that I got this little joke. Awkward moments, if you have them, it helps for relief. That's what with the funeral. Of course, it's not a funny occasion, but it helps us to relieve. And if it's like a breaking news, it's the system, it's a surprise. By speeches, we need sometimes for people to have more attention. And if the moment that you make a joke and you don't finish the sentence, and we put the dots and fill them in ourselves, in that moment, I'm totally awake. And I think I'm so clever. I made it up myself, even if you're not speaking. So you're really involving the people and it's connecting. And then it's also something friendly. And that's what we really need to keep in mind, because if you look at stand-up comedians, they have a really hard way of work to make sure that their humor is working, even if they curse and put down people. If you look at it aside from their art, this is a really high art they are doing, but we are not copying, just putting down people or telling stuff below the belt. Yeah, that's not what we use. But if you see something that's not really your taste, you can really see what the point is. If I am, and for example, I'd like that you know what I mean. There is a comedian, Louis C.K., who puts down kids. I hate my daughter. So this is really not a nice message. But he says, I hate my daughter. I asked her, put your shoes on. No, put your shoes on. No, and she doesn't. That's so asocial. And then it's making funny. It's, hey, if I go out with my friends and Dan doesn't put on his shoes, that he could not do that either. So my daughter is, so it's the way he approaches the situation which making funny, and not just saying that kids are asocial. It's the perspective he uses. And we as speaker or business entrepreneurs, we don't really need this point of view to put your humor. It's more from within. So let's take this situation. Somebody's going to be late. So you have the person who is waiting for somebody is late for the appointment. What could this person say or think? Is waiting for somebody, and you can just, it's open. What do we think before the person is coming, or what do we say to the person when he's there? There are so many options. You write them in the chat, please. You got the answer, the question? So if somebody's late for your appointment, somebody get nasty, somebody patient, somebody start doing something else, it's open. But what are possible responses to the situation?
So is it, Misha, are you asking when I'm late or when I wait for someone that's late?
You wait somebody, or somebody's waiting for somebody. So if it's not you, you can be more nasty than if it's you.
Okay.
So possible from the perspective of the person who is waiting. And blaming the person who is late. There are several options here. can be obvious. It doesn't have to be funny. It's just realistic. That's what's happening in life. Put enter if you got something. Hello, Salama. Salama is greetings, right? Your name is hi. Nice to meet you, and thank you for putting on the camera. Cool. Cool. Since I'm not sure if people can read our chat, I'm gonna read out loud what's here. Wow, you are late. Were the Lufthansa pilots on strike today again? This is already a very cool pointe. Yeah, it's cool. And did you have a late night yesterday? Which is really cool. Yeah. And nice of you to join us, which I'm not sure if Silvana was doing the exercise or just telling Salama, nice of you to join us. But still, it's also one of the possibilities. So we have the situation of the person who is waiting and somebody is late. I can imagine that somebody just say, you are late, which is also, it's just true. You are late. It's just an observation, but it's the tone that's making it a certain word. If I feel attacked or I feel okay. So now we need the perspective of the person who's coming late. You're coming late. What could be possible responses? Think about anything, the obvious, something wider. And let's see. Yeah. Yes, just an excuse, just an excuse or a sorry, which are two different things. Hi, Philip. Thank you for joining us. Sorry, I'm late. I missed my bus. Sorry, I'm still on UK time today, so I'm early. This is really cool. It's really cool. So you have also already the power to think a little bit more witty. I put toothpaste all over my sweater. I like that. And those are the things that you take yourself not so seriously. And in the situation one, you know you're late, you feel guilty, you come in, you say, I'm so sorry. And sometimes it really happens as people are late in my training, they start blaming me for hiding the place because they didn't find it. They say, yes, the other ones didn't find it also, but earlier. It's the one that you need to think a little bit. And for us, if somebody say you're late, that you're already nervous, and to break the ice, not to make it worse, since something happened, you're not doing it on purpose, right? So that is really cool if you have something to break the ice. And I can imagine some of these scenarios. You're coming in and somebody says, did you find it all right? Which is a nice approach. And you say, actually, I'm really proud that I found it because all the roads were pointing me in the wrong direction, which is, I'm so nervous and all roads pointed in the wrong direction. I'm so proud that I'm here. Thank you for waiting, which is charming and not accusing nobody, but being true to the situation and not really making up excuses. Sorry for all these trucks in front of me. All these trucks in front of me had to urgently deliver toilet paper to the supermarkets, which is really cool. Yeah. So for the more you do, the more braveness you need. But if you stay to your situation, like putting toothpaste over your sweater, yeah, you say, hey, I really wanted to make a clean impression, and then the toothpaste dropped. Sorry, I think you're gonna be a winner. Yeah, so this is what helps with the icebreaker. And if they say you're late, Okay, you say, you're true, you're right. Then you're not fighting with nobody. And also that, so there are different ways to approach things. And some of the techniques are exaggerating. And the other one is just confirming. And sometimes it just helps to admit that you're clumsy or late or tripping stuff, the things we do in actual life, and just admit them. So we need, in order to have some sense of humor, we need subjects and we need self-reflection if it's about you. And since you're the one talking and speaking, it will help you be more aware of your own characterism and pick a few of your not so ideal characterisms, yeah, like eating with your mouth open. It's just anything. I don't know, forgetting to slam the door when you're out with the dog late and you always forget to close the door quietly, something like that. It can be anything. It would be very helpful if you just put them in the chat, and it doesn't have to be really your trait, your characteristic that is so bad, but it helps. OCD, I need help with that, what that is.
I'm not sure if it's OCD. It's a thing like my daughter is always using with me. It's, you know, I like the things to be very tidy and clean, and I can see all the spots that are untidy. I enter a room and I see exactly what is bad instead of seeing what is good. So tidiness and having things this exactly way. And
Perfect.
She's telling that to me, you know, you're OCD, mom. So I'm not sure exactly what it says. I have
you
to
don't even know what's the O and the C and the D is. Okay, but we get the message. Okay, and for me, if I'm a temperamented girl and I start like this, and I'm not blasting you away, but now we're just half an hour and I'm already like, wah, and I know I'm loud. I'm loud, but since you experience me live, you might not hold that against me. But me being aware of that makes it possible to address that and then connect with you guys, that you understand. And then maybe later a joke will happen. I don't plan them. My microphone is not working. I can only, you can hear me if I say something. My internet is bad. I'm sick. I'm in bed. Sorry, I'm lesson today with you all. Thank you for this message, Emma. And also that it totally fits. But I say, hey, what's wrong? What do we have for things that I wrote it down, the word that's missing, annoying character. It's not you, but we have something that's not working. That can also be very annoying. Yeah, you're being on stage. And now the things I'd like to go, because we have still good time to do an exercise, and I'd like to go a bit further. We just have your characterism, that your annoying character or something, then things you love or things you hate. We're inventorying, yeah. So we need these elements to come later with the result. So things you love or things you hate, just write down stuff that you love and that stuff that you hate. Any results? I always need to wait, since the latence on the internet, it takes a bit time for people to respond. Okay, being in nature, love to be in being in nature. Hate to be in line, for example. Hate for traffic jam. I don't hate so much things. I always stay calm, but I know people are upset if I make them wait a little bit too long when the traffic light is already green and I didn't drive like in the first second. I know that people hate me for that. For example, I hate when I have to wait and line up. I love being in nature, really cool. And so for a little bit more technique, which will gonna help you if you do speeches or speaking person for people and you do prepare, there is this technique of a rule of 3. You always need 3 things, or 2 things get into one line, like A, B, and then the C will be something different. A, B, another animal. A, B, fly. It doesn't make sense, yeah, but that's what you do. You build up an expectation and then you break it. That's a technique. It's the trias, yeah, where you put 3 things in line, which doesn't, the third one doesn't make the most sense, and then you break the expectation, and it's worth a small yeah, the nice one. And what you do now with the things you love or hate, you collect reasons why to love it or why to hate it, and then you connect them. So we are not going to make all of the listing exercises, but if you got the idea, I hate when people drive and texting in their phone. Okay, that's really cool, Emma. That's really helpful. Yeah, I hate it, and somebody hates to be in line and wait up. So we can make this line being in a traffic jam. So you say, I hate to be in a traffic jam. I hate to be in line up and waiting. I hate it when people driving and texting. I hate myself for doing that all the time. So that's where you make the breaking point. For example, so you're making a little joke, and then you can also do it with loving, being in nature. We can collect together what would be so lovable for being in nature. You can tell them, if it's not easy to write, what are the reasons to be loving, to be in nature. You can write them down. You can just chat with us. What is the reason? Smell the pine trees. Oh yes, and even this sentence puts the memory in my head. I love to hear the birds singing. Oh yes, and that's when my brain is a little bit more quick. I have already one of small. Yeah, it's not the biggest one, but if you practice, then there's more, and then you have something to pick. What do you feel more for loving, being in the nature? I love to feel my body active. Yes, really cool. Thanks, Catherine. So for a small gag, it could be like, oh, I really love to be in nature. It's so nice, and I feel it with whole of my body. I love to smell the pine trees, and I love to hear the birds singing, and I love to lay flat out when I trip about this the roots and put my face in the mud to experience. Yeah. So you got the point where it's working. Yeah, you need to work it out, and I don't study it in behind. It's the tool you use to make the breaking point at there, to make it a little story in itself, where you can put yourself in a situation that people are laughing, right? Is that concrete? Can you handle that? Okay, nice, really cool. What are things you laugh about? Now we're gonna have I'm going to say something small that's making me laugh, and then give it on to the next one, or you raise your hand and just make it spontaneously. It doesn't even have to be funny. It's just our point of view. Okay, for example, my mom is almost starting to be blind, and I visited her last week. But when she put the bottle of water, she poured it here on the table and not in the glass. And we laughed. Yeah, it's a tragic comedy, but it's still funny if she put the water beneath the glass. This is a small anecdote. It's just not the story that you're going to put in a note, and you have to reframe it. But what do you laugh about? And it can also be just watching comedy shows or watching cats and dogs fight or anything, right? Salama, can you share with us something that you laugh about? It's the button. Yes.
I was trying to think, and I can't think of anything specific, but you know how you do something that you know you shouldn't have, and you're like, why did I do that? And I talk to myself all the time, like, Salama, did you just do that? And it's, you know, to make light and humor of whatever the situation. Like, I know I knew better, but I did it anyway. So I kind of laugh at myself, you know, and I can't think of anything specific, but I do that all the time, you know, with different situations that were common sense, but I did the opposite.
You're a good sport for yourself, which is really cool. And the thing what happens now is, of course, now you have all this, you know you do it, but you don't capture it. It's there unconscious. If you want to look where is your humor, the next time you catch yourself doing it, you can catch the moment and see, that's what I did. That's what I expected from myself. There where I break my own expectation, and that's the funny moment. Then you can reproduce it. Yeah. So we don't put the pressure now, but for you being aware, you're being a good sport for yourself, and just the fact that you talk to yourself. High five, girl. I do that also. Yes. It's already one of those, not really the characteristics, it's bad, but it's helped you being on stage, you know? You go on the stage. Hi, everyone. Hi, Salama. Oh, that's my nervousness talking to me again. Then you break the ice. It's just you. Okay. Catherine.
I think usually the one who makes me laugh is my husband, but I cannot remember exactly one thing. One thing we do certainly is to have, or he does mainly, is to have every morning at breakfast comedians. It's usually French comedians, but they will listen together, and some of them are really good. So indeed, we start the day with some jokes from somebody else. And usually it's more politicians, they making fun of politicians, and especially now we have a lot. So, and otherwise making fun of myself, you know, it's also, yeah, so someone was saying, a way to take it lightly.
Yes, and for the politicians, sometimes you say, oh, that poor person, but the higher they are at risk, the more they are a target for humor. Like Obama, who did everything correct, and if you don't have to stand behind his politics, there was no way you can really make fun of him, because you have some things to have to be solved, because behind the humor is always the pain. Yeah, that makes it up for it, that makes the relief, that makes the breaking point. And that's why we always need something that's disturbing, something that's breaking, something that's going wrong, for us to make it more humorous. The other way around is sadness, and we're not talking about that. That's something good, and then you break it, and then it's not so good. But now we turn the system around. That's what humor is doing for us. Yeah? And if you're looking at this comedian, even if they're talking about politics, the joke, you cannot put on other people. But if you notice what in fact you are laughing about, you can reproduce that. So not the joke itself, but you being aware that you're smart to get the joke and make yourself more aware about what did you laugh about. Because sometimes with humor, with politicians and stuff, you don't say, you do, yeah? And then, you know, you cannot talk about it. But there was something that made a twist that make you so surprised that will make you, that you can use for finding your own humor. Thank you for being there, Silvana, and hope to see you next time. Take care. Let's see what Monique wrote down. When somebody compares something uncomparable, like something one said, why is it so cold here when everyone speaks about global warming the whole time? Yes, really cool. That's if you have the contradiction, yeah, the things that are oxymorons, those things are very, very cool. What for you guys to look for that makes you helping more humor in whatever you do is things that rhyme, might help and connect. If it's a surprise, anecdotes really do well, like this, the story that my mother pours the water beneath the glass. You can use it as a metaphor for any of your statements. If you have a call to action and you have main statements, you can just make a compare. Just don't do like my mother and pour the water beneath the glass. Pay attention and put it in. Yeah, and then that's how you connect these little anecdotes, oxymorons. If it's like something is a little small stage, a little big stage, or you're little on a big stage, those things will work very well. But also imitating, careful with that one. Misunderstandings really work very good, and things go wrong. Now, for things go wrong, they happen by accident, right? Now, think about it. You know in front, you're going to do something wrong. For me, it's always, I'm going to do something wrong. So I plan my situations, what can be going wrong if I just forget what to say. And then what do I say if I forget what to say? And then you can say, hey, now you're here, and in the middle of the night, I wish you were with me, because everybody has the, so that's how you can prepare the things that go wrong. Every know it's wrong. The shirt wearing a false room, that's like a really bad English, false room. We did that. There's 3 reasons you, yeah, we did that. And I have you in my mind, Monique, because we had a session together, and it's always good to summarize at the end what you all have been doing. And I think some people have a better head for that than others. And I always have this spontaneous head who's going, ding, 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 tick, tick, tock. And let me see, I just do it openly. What will help you for your using humor in your speech. Since we collected the things you love and the things you are not so comfortable with, if you go open your speech and say something nice about yourself, then I'm starting to get nervous now because I'm putting pressure. I want to be having a joke now for you to see how it works, but that's not how it works. It's in yourself, and what there are the things you can really do yourself to prepare is associate, and we just do a little association. So that's what you start practicing, which helps you freshen up and be more aware about what to put in your text. For example, if I say skiing, then Salama says something that pops into your mind, and then Catherine put the next word, skiing. You just say them.
You mean you want to say something about skiing?
Yeah, I say skiing, and then you say something that's attached to it, but it's totally different, or something that accompanies with that. You have a broad range of possibilities, but you have to choose quickly.
Telemarking.
What for marking?
Telemarking. It's a way of saying, yeah. Telemarking.
Okay. Monique?
Olympics.
Olympics.
Hot wine.
Hot wine, yes. With this, if you have one, if you have your, let's say I don't ski, but if it would be my hobby, and you have a way less of snow and the long shoe or the big boots, and it's cold, and the wine and all of these things, then you make a connection to what I'm about to do. I wrote this book, so I want to talk about this book, and I'm an author. And then you make the connection about what writing a book has to do with drinking a lot of wine, and then you or wearing big boots, or and then it's
So you're kind of connecting the unconnected. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and for you to practice to build lists I do them in the head with if I want to connect two things that don't belong together, and then you see what they have in common, and there's where the connection comes in. And I picked this skiing spontaneously, which you have here. And Catherine, what's your job? What do you do for a job?
I'm a cancer coach.
A cancer coach?
Yeah.
For cancer, right?
Yes.
The disease.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure that's me. And Salama, do you have a hobby or something you really, really love?
I actually own a massage and skincare business.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you put everything for massage and skincare. I smell the perfume, you see the bed with the hole in it. And then Catherine has a whole list of what has to do with, and I'm not so into your material. You make your list, and then you connect the things that like the bed with the hole, which for me, the massage thing, and then a connection with your, and now it's really sensitive because we don't want to make fun of cancer itself, but still it's a place to let humor live. The bed with a hole, it's just the image is already, it's a nice image. We need to work on that a little bit further. So let me make sure that if you want to do some speech and you want to include humor in it, which would be your question? Monique?
I don't know. There's a lot of, there's a lot of questions like, I mean, I've been using humor as a speaker, and I've also been using humor at the beginning of speeches just to, break the ice. But What would be my question? I don't know. My question is like, why don't you share with us what kind of humor you use, Mylgia, for, when you open a speech?
Yes, there are, I use the moment, like refer to what the introducer said, for example. That might be, no, I explain it differently. The stand-up comedians, it looks like they speak spontaneously in the moment, but they're prepared to do that in that moment. And so if you are going onto stage and you use something that happened in the room just before, or use the situation, then it makes the impression that you're very spontaneous, and then the level of admiring will raise. Like saying something about the backdrop or the stairs if they are high, or just small steps, and you just address the things that you observed. And it's not, I'm not constructing really heavy jokes. But I have this situation where I found out that there would be many dentists in the room. And I was, of course, not prepared of that. But in my speech, and I have to reconstruct what happened, that I needed to tell that people with the mask, they always look so angry. Angry birds, you only see angry birds because they're wearing masks. And since I just found out a lot of dentists were in the room, I said I used to have a dentist and I was really afraid of him, and he was always behind his mask, but I wasn't afraid of the treatment. It was the way he looked. And that's how the connection went. And for you, Monique told that she already uses it. Look for expectations to break, look for exaggeration, and look for just the truth, just pointing out what's there. Yeah, did I tuck in my blouse correct? If you're not sure, then I think you're breaking people's heart for a little moment if you just express it and not being insecure about it, but sharing it. Yeah, and that's what I do on stage, just being honest. And of course, exaggerating it's making it worse, yeah, which catapultize the humor. Any questions about you finding and using your own humor in your way to speak?
Not really a question, but I think thank you so much, because it just by hearing you, it connects in the head what we can do. For me, what I do, I prefer to tend to speak about me, and as you were just saying, exaggerate. Yes. Exaggerate in French.
See, that is humor, Katrine.
Yes.
Intentionally, right?
and even at the word, if you exaggerate the word exaggerate, which is like the whole in one. Yes.
So, and because my mother tongue is French, and indeed I do speaking in English, and I also do live videos in English sometimes, and I don't have the words coming, and I use the French word, and I try to, so yeah, teasing, I mean, joking about me, that I think that's easier, because around health and all that, you want to be, as you were mentioning before, careful what you say. And I think it's easier to speak about me and what happened to me, and laugh about me than about what's something else out there, I think, for me.
Which is really good. And that's why it's so good to be aware about your little deficits, the things you don't do so well. If you don't want to point them out and make people see them, because it's gonna devaluate. But if you can use them to make the humor. And then the thing I show you, one of the last, is make a connection what it means to the people. So you make a little thing that you don't handle so well because it's your story, and you make a statement which they can recognize because we're all human. And then you make your statement what you want to say with that. And that's when people are at your side. They don't mind you if you talk about you as a coach, you being late or being loud. If you take them on your side and they see your point of view and they feel that you're not having a problem with that you're accepting yourself, then you put out the message, what it means to them, whatever the topic is you're talking about. And that's how you build in your humor in your deliverance, in your performance.
Yeah, and I also, I love when we're making jokes about ourselves, like, there's this one big guy and, whenever he steps onto stage, people think like, oh my God, he's really big. And, he comes on and he's saying, but I know you're expecting something big today, right? Here you go, right? So things like that, right? So, if you're, when you're aware about, what makes us special, what are people often saying about this? And then we use that to, add humor to it. I think, I think that's, a great way of making people laugh in a, really innocent way, right?
There's this small rule. You can always make fun of yourself and take the obvious. So I have a little bit more field which I can use. I can use the gray hair. I can use the dark-skinned people. I can use women. Yeah, I can use small people. And in Zoom we're all same big, but I'm not so big. And which allows me. And I'm a Dutch person living in a foreign country. In my case, it's Germany. So if I want to make a joke about, I'm not African, but I just make the joke and I just see how it works. Like if, because it's about Dutch people, I'm going to make fun of the Dutch people, just to make sure. So if a Dutch person goes to Africa and he asks for the way to go to the next bus stop, and the African person would say something like, yeah, then still the Dutch person would be the one with the strangest language. And there is this touch that you cannot really make ridicule of the African people talking like that, but the sounds are so funny. And the clue is that even the Dutch have a worst language, and that would be the joke. And it's my own joke. I didn't buy it somewhere. And other people cannot really make it because then they are offending people. Yeah, and if you just take your own situation, I think even the theme breast or cancer is really delicate, but also Catherine, if you ever need help in twisting your material, I'm offering you my help, which is because it's very important to also be light in that. And for some things it goes quick. Sometimes you really need to. The soup, you cook it and it's not in 10 minutes. It's not the soup. The soup is better the next day. So sometimes you need a little bit more a longer way to get the right humor for the right situation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for offering. And you're so right. I had a speech 10 or 15 minutes. And indeed, someone helped me to put some jokes in between, because from me, it was difficult to find, the thread and putting that. And it was a French guy, and he was all about only jokes. So we managed to make it lighter. And one thing you have to know, I'm flying to Amsterdam this Thursday. So I have my daughter living in Amsterdam. So I have some connection to the Dutch.
Yeah, you're going to have fun there because they speak so funny. and language is always a good bowl of funny things you can yeah. Now I'm thinking too many languages at the same time. There's nothing coming out of it yet. Looking at
it about language is also good, right? You know, sometimes words, like, you know, words sometimes mean the entire opposite in different languages. So
exactly, be aware of that. And in Brazil, they say, I'm embarrassed. And then you're not saying you're embarrassed, and then you're pregnant and you're not embarrassed. So this is really, you have to take care in which language you say what. Yes.
right. Well, I love it, Mylgia, because you know, I love this session. Sometimes I put, you know, I'm German, so how can I ever be humorous, right? Right? You see, self-deprecating jokes, but you know, just again, being in this session just opens up again my perspective and opens up my focus to say, hey, why don't we bring more lightness into even our daily life? Right? Even what we say and how we say things, right? Like the exercise we did at the beginning, you say, okay, so if you're angry about something, how can you say it in a humorous way? I think this is so powerful in itself, right? Besides what we do on stage and in our business, but you know, I think it is really a great way. I keep asking myself, so how can I bring more humor in? How can I make people laugh, right?
But it's already there. Yeah. That's the power. And there are these tools I really used years to implement them. For me, they come natural, and I'm not going to put the illusion, if we have more hours, we can do the exercise and then with you, something gets started. But for me, it's more important that you see, if you're more aware about what you think is funny right now, they can use it already today and tomorrow. And just thinking, put your mind in this shifting in just to make things lighter and not to make people, that's not what we need, because then you're not authentically most of the time. But just get this, this moment with the people, and the moment that you mess up, then you can, if you be like meh with yourself, then you spread that. And what I do is, look at me, just like Salama said, just look at me. I plan to do it like this, and now I lose my mind. And I share with you, and I stay light. So you can stay light and reflect that, happened to me also once, and she's not doing too bad. So things like that really puts new process, which helps you in your business way more than, to be honest, I live in Germany and I love this country, and we love to be perfectionist. And I must admit, I'm also one of those. But I have to forgive myself for being that, and forgive myself even more for not really reaching my own standards in being perfectionist. And that's making my life so much lighter. I enjoy every failure that I make. Sometimes not when I want to sleep, I must be honest, but just to have the chance to see, how would I deal with that? And I'm not going to be punishing myself for doing something so natural. And how should I know it before if I find out afterwards? And if you just manage to be aware of all of these processes that is come included, then the humor is right next door, because if you don't make many mistakes, you then have nothing to laugh about.
Yes. And we want to laugh as much as we can.
Yes.
We love to get these wrinkles in our eyes, right?
Yeah.
And we want to take everyone along on that ride. Thank you, Mylgia. Is there something else you want to say to round things off, or just looking at time? We're already over the hour, but
I was very much aware of time, and I thank you for joining. And this should be my business blog. But I'm here with my heart for you, and I really love that we exchange this and that you were open to do this. And for any of you who do speak German, this is my book, which is new, which is humorful, and I can just recommend it for the reason that it's showing that things do get lighter. It's not always about the good thing in life. It's how you look at the things that go wrong. And
I think it's time for you to translate your book into English and get it out into the world.
Yes.
Otherwise, Salama will need to learn German, but I'm sure that's easy for her.
Emma just wrote a cool message. I'm in a meeting with you guys. I write now, right? I just lost my ticket saying we cannot find it. Please, I need someone to drive me home. And then she put smileys. I think it's true. She's in the traffic and she lost her ticket and now she needs to get out and needs somebody to drive home. In which city do you are, Emma? But that's a really great story. If you're late for your appointment, you make a really short introduction. Hey, what happened to me? And then you get everybody on your side. Just be true and honest and make them laugh, make them suffer with you. Yeah. Thank you, Monique, for inviting me.
The good news is on virtual meetings, beaming is actually possible. So Emma, we can beam you home at the end of this meeting.
One more thing from my perspective is that humor is the team that I'm doing today. My actual is about sitting in home office and how to make sure that you're not going to be sick for that. Yeah, and this is a really, really important topic since we're all suffering. If you're under 30, you're not having any problems. But from then, too much sitting is making us having also cancer. So if there's anything I can do through that topic, I'm an expert for that. And I can also help.
One day we're going to invite you back, Mylgia. How about that?
Yes.
Great. So if anyone wants to connect with you, where do they find you? Just a very quick one.
Yes, I have a lot of sites, also chocolate site, and you find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook and Instagram. Just how to spell my name, you see it here. Oh yeah, putting the mouse in Zoom, right? Mylgia.
What's the best platform for people to connect with you? Is it like your LinkedIn or your website or, sorry?
I have a website. I like for connection to be in LinkedIn. And of course, you find me on the website. I put it in the speaker.mylgia.de. And as you hear, I do a lot of languages, so just don't feel any barriers talking to me in whatever you want to speak. That's my website. You find all information, speaker.mylgia.de, and in all the platforms. Pick LinkedIn, you put my name. There is until now nobody else with the same one.
Perfect.
So
right.
Okay,
thank you very much for being on with us. I hope Katrine, Salama, and everyone else, Emma, and I'm sure Silvana as well, you really all loved it, enjoyed it, and I think we're all going to continue our day with a smile on our face. And I think that we all feel inspired to put more smiles on other people's faces, if not a solid laughter. Thank you for all the hints and tips, and as I said, lots of golden nuggets of how to really do it, and how to even stop thinking about it and take the edges out of life, in our life, in our business, in speaking situations where there's sometimes quite rough edges, where you can really bring lightness and joy and laughter to the situation. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Katrine, Salama, Emma, and Silvana, and everyone else for being with us today. And Philippe was there shortly as well, and some others. So great to have you. And we'll make sure that this ends up in the Hall of Fame. So all of you, if you want to tap back into these hints, can always come back. And thanks, Mylgia, for taking the time being with us. And all of you will be back next month again with another mySpeakerBusiness community call. And, again, whatever you do, friends, keep smiling, keep laughing. Okay.
Thank you.
All the best. We'll be in touch in the meantime too. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.